The Canadian wilderness is once again consumed by fire. As of May 30, 2025, vast swaths of land in Saskatchewan and Manitoba are burning uncontrollably. Active blazes have already scorched an immense 696,000 acres in Saskatchewan. Simultaneously, fires in Manitoba have consumed a significant 173,000 acres. These figures paint a stark picture of the escalating crisis. The combined total for these two provinces alone has reached nearly 1.5 million acres burned so far in this challenging year. This early start to the fire season signals a potentially devastating period ahead for Canada's forests and the communities residing nearby, forcing urgent responses from authorities. The sheer scale is difficult to comprehend fully. The human cost of these infernos is rapidly mounting. Authorities have initiated large-scale evacuations with up to 17,000 people in Canada being forced to leave their homes. These evacuations are primarily concentrated in the fire-ravaged regions of Saskatchewan and Manitoba. The situation is so dire that both provinces have officially declared a state of emergency. This declaration underscores the severity of the threat and allows for enhanced governmental powers to manage the crisis. The displacement of thousands highlights the immediate, tangible impact of these environmental disasters on human lives and livelihoods, creating uncertainty and distress for countless families affected by the flames. The consequences of these Canadian wildfires are not confined by international borders. Heavy smoke, a visible testament to the raging fires, is predicted to drift extensively over the northern United States. This atmospheric invasion is expected to begin as early as May 30, 2025, and persist through the weekend. Midwestern states, including Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Michigan, are forecasted to bear the initial brunt of this smoke. Fire Smoke Canada, a leading monitoring agency, predicts the smoke will then travel further, reaching as far south as the Carolinas by May 31, 2025, alerting millions to the impending air quality degradation. Canadian officials are expressing grave concerns about the trajectory of the current wildfire situation. Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe, on May 29, 2025, described the unfolding events as very serious. He voiced fears that the situation would likely deteriorate further before any significant improvement could be seen. Premier Moe emphasized that a substantial rainfall event, lasting 2 or 3 days, is desperately needed to bring the fires under control. Until such weather conditions materialize, the fires are expected to worsen, further challenging firefighting efforts and increasing the area of land and communities at risk from the relentless advance of the flames. The blazes also extend into Ontario, where 130,000 acres have burned this year. The unwelcome arrival of Canadian wildfire smoke is already being felt across the United States border. Minnesota's Pollution Control Agency reported that the state began experiencing the impact of these distant blazes on May 29, 2025. Air quality alerts quickly followed, warning residents of the changing atmospheric conditions. By that same evening, Upper Wisconsin and the Upper Peninsula of Michigan were also bracing for poor air quality. The smoke's journey is swift and far-reaching, with predictions indicating its unwelcome presence will spread to the Ohio Valley on May 30, 2025, and subsequently blanket the Carolinas by the early hours of Saturday, May 31, 2025. This rapid dissemination affects millions. The primary health concern associated with this pervasive smoke is the high concentration of fine particulate matter. These microscopic particles, often designated PM2.5, can penetrate deep into the respiratory system. Minnesota authorities have issued stark warnings about unhealthy levels of exposure to these fine particles. Symptoms can range from relatively mild irritation such as coughing and shortness of breath, to far more severe and life-threatening conditions. Understanding these risks is crucial for public health responses. This invisible threat poses a significant challenge to communities hundreds of miles away from the actual flames, turning a distant disaster into a local health emergency for many. The potential health impacts are diverse and can be extremely serious, particularly for vulnerable populations. These include individuals with pre-existing respiratory conditions like asthma or chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, older adults, children, and pregnant women. Exposure to dense wildfire smoke can trigger asthma attacks and exacerbate other lung diseases. More alarmingly, authorities warn that prolonged or intense exposure can lead to severe cardiovascular events including heart attacks and strokes. These outcomes underscore the urgent need for public awareness and precautionary measures when air quality deteriorates significantly due to these widespread smoke events, impacting daily life. The sheer scale of the emergency in Canada necessitates extraordinary measures, highlighting the severity of the wildfires. Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew announced that Canadian authorities have called in the military to assist with the overwhelming evacuation efforts. He described the situation as the largest evacuation seen in most people's living memory. This requires an unprecedented logistical operation, moving vast numbers of people in mere hours, rather than the days that might normally be available for such undertakings. The involvement of armed forces underscores the immense challenge faced by civilian authorities in managing disasters of this magnitude, demonstrating the profound societal disruption caused. Across Canada, 1,500 blazes have already charred 1.8 million acres in 2025. The current smoke invasion is not an isolated incident. It evokes strong memories of very recent events. The Canadian wildfire season of 2023 was particularly devastating and set alarming precedents. During that year, over 6,000 separate blazes raged across Canada. These fires collectively burned an astonishing area exceeding 37 million acres. To put this into perspective, this burned area is larger than the entire country of England. The smoke from these fires blanketed vast portions of the United States, causing unhealthy air quality alerts in numerous cities throughout the Northeast, Midwest, and the Plains, affecting daily life for tens of millions of people. The impact of the 2023 fires on United States air quality was profound and widespread. Major metropolitan areas, far removed from the flames themselves, experienced days and sometimes weeks of hazy skies and dangerously polluted air. This led to public health advisories, school closures, and the cancellation of outdoor events. The pervasive smoke served as a stark reminder of the interconnectedness of our environment and how events in one region can have significant consequences for others, even across international borders. The sheer volume of smoke generated overwhelmed natural dispersion patterns, creating persistent air quality problems over extensive geographical areas, a pattern now repeating. Further evidence of this growing problem comes from authoritative health organizations. The American Lung Association's 2025 State of the Air report presented sobering findings. This comprehensive report, which analyzed data through the end of 2023, revealed a disturbing trend. A growing number of Americans were living with poor air quality directly attributable to Canadian wildfires. This increase occurred despite ongoing efforts and successes in reducing other sources of domestic air pollution, such as industrial emissions and vehicle exhaust. The report highlights a new and increasingly dominant factor negatively influencing the air Americans breathe, demanding new approaches. The data clearly indicates that smoke from these increasingly frequent and intense northern wildfires is offsetting progress made elsewhere in air quality management. While local pollution controls might be improving in many U.S. cities, the transboundary smoke plumes are introducing significant amounts of particulate matter, leading to more days with unhealthy air. This presents a complex challenge for public health officials and environmental agencies. They now face an external factor that is difficult to control, yet has substantial local impacts. The findings strongly suggest that addressing wildfire smoke will be crucial for protecting public health in the coming years, demanding international collaboration. Managing wildfires on the scale currently witnessed in Canada presents immense and multifaceted challenges. The sheer size of the burning areas often makes direct suppression efforts incredibly difficult, if not impossible, in remote regions. Firefighting resources, including personnel and equipment, can be stretched to their limits even with international assistance. Logistical complexities abound, from accessing remote fire lines to coordinating large-scale evacuations in sparsely populated but vast territories. Furthermore, weather conditions, particularly wind and lack of precipitation, play a critical and often unpredictable role in fire behavior, complicating strategic planning and response efforts significantly for all involved. The increasing frequency and intensity of these wildfire seasons cannot be divorced from the broader context of climate change. Scientific consensus points towards rising global temperatures creating warmer, drier conditions in many forested regions. These conditions, in turn, lead to vegetation that is more susceptible to ignition and fires that burn more intensely and spread more rapidly. Longer fire seasons are becoming the norm, reducing the recovery time for ecosystems and stretching the capacity of emergency response agencies. Addressing the root causes of climate change is therefore intrinsically linked to mitigating the escalating wildfire threat across the globe, including these massive Canadian blazes. Potential solutions require a multi-pronged approach, encompassing both immediate responses and long-term strategies. Improved forest management practices, including controlled burns to reduce fuel loads and creating fire breaks, can help make landscapes more resilient to large-scale conflagrations. Enhanced early warning systems and more sophisticated fire behavior modeling can improve preparedness and resource allocation. Crucially, international cooperation on research, resource sharing, and coordinated firefighting efforts is essential when dealing with transboundary smoke and fires that respect no borders. Investing in these areas is not merely an expense but a necessary safeguard for future protection. The situation demands an urgent and sustained call to action. The recurring nature of these devastating wildfires and their far-reaching impacts on air quality and public health can no longer be viewed as occasional anomalies. They represent a new and growing reality that requires immediate attention from policymakers, communities, and individuals alike. We must invest in climate mitigation and adaptation strategies, bolster our emergency response capabilities, and foster a greater understanding of the interconnectedness of our planetary systems. Delaying comprehensive action will only lead to greater environmental damage, increased health burdens, and more significant economic disruptions in the years to come. The time to act decisively is now.